Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas. Today we're here to talk about ASUS RS520A-E12-RS12U. Let's get going. Hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the ASUS RS520A-E12-RS12U. Do us a favor, find anything that helps you in this video, click that like, smash that subscribe. All right, we'll top in. This video is going to be a general overview for this beautiful Genoa chassis here, and we're going to touch base on the CPUs, the memory, the drives, the networking cards, the supported operating systems, plus a bunch more. So let's go ahead and hop into all the fun stuff. All right, I always like to start with CPUs because really that's probably what drew you here in the first place. You might be out there looking for a good AMD Genoa solution, and especially if you're looking for a 2U 12-bay large form factor, hey, look no further. This is going to be a wonderful option for you for an AMD Genoa. And so this is going to be a single socket AMD Genoa, which is an SP5 socket. It's an AMD EPYC Zen 4, which is a 9004 series. So within the 9004, you might see a 9004F or a 9004X. The F is for fast as okay, just kidding. It's for high frequency. And the X is going to be for 3D cache. So there's a couple of different types of them. So if you're looking for a faster proc within the Genoa, the F line is going to be a little bit better for you. And there's a bunch of good procs in this as a whole. People ask us all the time, hey, what procs do you recommend? And really, we always say it depends on your budget and depends on your application. But we break it down into three categories. We have our low end, our value, and our high end. The low end is going to be obviously the cheaper, not break the bank, more budget friendly, but still good specs. The value is going to be a nice little sweet spot where you get still very budget friendly, but better specs than low end. And then high end just going to be the top of the line best procs. And really, there's a couple of high end that I really like in this series as we throw up our graph and you can see it. There's the 9654 and the 9754. That's going to be 96 core and 128 core proc, which is amazing when you think you can get 128 cores into one CPU nowadays. And even there's some other chassis that are out there where you can drop in two Genoas and get 256 cores and just an amazing and incredibly powerful processing power that you can get out of this as a whole. All right, let's talk memory. It takes DDR5 ECC Registered or ECC Registered 3DS. Those are the two types of RAM that you can use. There are 24 DIMM slots inside, and there are 12 memory channels, which means there are 2 DIMMs per channel, which is important information that we'll cover when we get to the speeds. The sizes you can use, well, there's a number of sizes. You can use 32 gig, 64 gig, 128 gig, or all the way up to 256 gig. Yes, 256 gigs, which means this bad boy can max out at 6 terabytes, putting in 24 256 gigabyte modules, which is pretty insane when you think about it on a size level. So let's talk speeds. The speeds are actually really interesting. You can do 4800, 4400, 4000, 3600, 3200, 2933, and really since this is DDR5, I've never even seen the DDR5 2933 or 3200s. I mean, they might exist out there. The real main module that most people are going to be putting in is 4800. That's the most prevalent speed that's out there for DDR5 registered, especially for 32 gigs and 64 gigs and so forth. There's also 5600, but it's just going to clock down, so there's no sense in paying extra if it costs you more. It will work. It'll just clock down, but those are going to be your speeds. For the top max end is 4800. And then when you put in 2 DIMMs per channel, and that 4800 again is only for 1 DIMM per channel, and if you put in 2 DIMMs per channel, then it's going to clock down to 4000 for single rank and 3600 for dual rank. So again, it's going to clock down and going to be a little bit lower than the Turin, so 3600 would be the basic speed that you're going to get if you do fill it up completely with single rank modules. So just something to note as a whole. All right, let's talk storage. There are 12 large form factor drives in the front, and there are 2 small form factor in the back. The 2 small form factor in the back are only going to take 2.5 inch SATA. You can't put in SAS or NVMe. They will just be SATA, but they're going to be great if you want to toss in some SATA boot drives. Personally, I like NVMe boot drives, but that is an option that you can use in the back. Now, I did want to note, I grabbed one of the trays to let you see in advance. Yes, it can support 3.5 inch large form factor drives, or it can support 2.5 inch small form factor drives. Really important to note, the way that the tray is set up, essentially you'll just need some screws, and there are 4 holes, and you can plug in a regular SSD. All right, so what does that mean? So for SSDs, you can use 3 different types. You can use SATA, SAS, or NVMe. So the advantage is going to really all go to NVMe, and I'm a huge fan of NVMe, but let's go over all the different specs. So for SATA, you can get 6 gigabit per second, for SAS 12, and NVMe 16. So NVMe is the winner. Now for the different sizes, SATA you can get 7.68 terabytes, that's the max. SAS and NVMe can get 15.36. So, you know, SAS technically ties, but again, NVMe the winner. So NVMe, if you look at it, is going to have a faster speed and higher scalability. So on those two sides, that makes them the winner. So you would think it would cost more. Well, no, not at all. They actually cost less right now than SATA or SAS, unless you want to go into the used world. But if you're getting brand new drives, the manufacturers don't really want to build with SATA or SAS anymore. They want to push everyone to NVMe, and that's what the bulk of their production lines are doing, are NVMe. So the deals are actually on NVMe because that's what's being mass produced right now. And SAS and SATA are actually sometimes hard to get in some of the higher sizes, especially when it's like 7.68, cost more, and it's kind of insane. It's like, why would I pay more for a slower product that's less scalable? You know, so NVMe again, the big winner, but those are the types of SSDs you can use. All right, let's talk about hard drives. With hard drives, you could, again, technically put in a 2.5 inch, but there's really not a point to use a 2.5 inch hard drive. It's going to cost more than a 3.5 inch, and it's going to have less scalability. So really, if you're using a 2.5 inch, throw in an SSD, it's going to be just better performance overall. But if you're throwing in a hard drive, most likely you're using it for storage and you want a higher end hard drive that's going to be a higher capacity. So the max capacity you can get for SATA hard drive or SAS hard drive is going to be 22 terabytes. Now, I'm sure if you put it in 24, it probably would work. We haven't tested it, and according to ASUS's website, it's going to say 22. And hey, if you have used 24, hey, drop a comment down below. In fact, you know, we had some here today. We probably should have thrown them in right before we did this video, but we use them for a different build and they're gone. So anyhow, that being said, the 22 terabytes, the max on the website, and for the speeds, you're going to get 7.2K with SATA, and with SAS, you can get 7.2K, 10K, or 15K. So SAS is going to be faster, but when you get into some of the higher capacities, most of the time they're still 7.2K, and it's realistically the same as using SATA. But the real big problem with SAS is you have to have a RAID controller. So I did want to note that if you are using SAS drives, you do have to have a RAID controller. That is one problem that you could crop into or run into. So just noting all these potential pitfalls. Now, one other important note, there are two M.2 slots built into the motherboard. That's going to be for NVMe, perfect for your boot drives. You can drop in some cheap NVMe's nowadays. The 990s are a great option. There's some cheap Kingstons. There's a lot of honestly great M.2s, but those are going to be a good option. Those are both 22110, which means you can also put in 2280, of course, but those are going to be a great option for boot drives. And what I would personally recommend over the two SATA 2.5 inch in the back, great option as well, don't get me wrong. You know, if this is Family Feud, that might be number 2 on the board, maybe number 3 or 4 actually, because I might use some NVMe in the front, to be quite honest. But the M.2 NVMe, perfect way to go for your boot drives. All right, well, let's talk about RAID. RAID is always a fun subject, right? So RAID, we're going to go ahead and throw up a nice little handy chart to start. So if you look at our chart, it's going to have a bunch of different RAID options, and it's going to show you some general specs, RAID levels, cache, drive speeds, the PCIe gen, if it's a hardware RAID, which all these are. What I really wanted to point out is I am a huge fan of Grade technology over Broadcom. Broadcom, don't get me wrong, is still going to be a good option. You can see we've listed the Broadcom options on here, but Grade is the way to go. These guys have come up with essentially a GPU solution that has software backed. It's pretty awesome. Basically, they're dropping an NVIDIA GPU with their software combined, and you're able to do some NVMe RAID solutions that are far superior to everything that we're seeing out there, which is one of the reasons why we are really proud and excited to announce that we are now an authorized Grade technology partner. We're very excited about this. We really pushed for it because we were looking at their technology and there's nothing out there that really can compete with this right now. And to me, if you're looking for an NVMe RAID storage solution, this is the way to go. We highly recommend Grade Technology. Now, outside of that, we will let you guys fight in the comment section over whatever RAID you like. You can throw in extra options of stuff that we didn't list. These were just some of the approved ones off of ASUS's website. But again, huge fan of Grade. Let's talk GPUs. Since this is a 2U box, you can throw in a ton of different GPUs. So just like we did with RAID, let's throw up a handy little chart for you guys to see right here. So we're going to put up a little graph that's going to compare some of the different NVIDIA GPUs that are approved and you can use inside our box here. Now, important to note, there are 2 double wide GPUs that you can put in each box. That's the max that you're going to do. Once you install the 2 double wide GPUs, it is going to take up all of your by 16 PCIe slots, and essentially that's what you're going to get is 2 GPUs. But if you're looking for more than 2 GPUs, if you're looking for a 4 GPU box, we definitely have some other solutions. Just email us at sales@cloudninja.com. That's sales@cloudninja.com. But if you're looking for a 2 GPU solution, this is a wonderful box and a great solution for you. All right, let's talk networking and network cards, really. So with this machine, you're going to have 1 dedicated port that's going to be for your BCM or your IPMI. You're going to have 2 built-in 1 gigabit RJ45s, which is, honestly kind of womp womp, but they are on there and they are still very handy. And then you're going to have 1 OCP 3.0. And if you're putting in GPUs, that OCP 3.0 is going to become really important because that's really probably what you're going to use for your networking card to be able to throw in a 10 gig or 100 gig or whatever you need to put in there. That's really what you're going to lean on. Now, if you're not using all your PCIe slots and essentially for the GPUs, then you can throw in a number of different PCIe network cards and use the OCP and all those PCIe slots. You can really put in as many network cards as it'll fit. There's no real limit, but that's going to be your options as a whole on the network cards on the port side. All right, so let's talk about the PCIe slots and the OCP slots. So we'll go ahead and throw up a nice little handy chart or notes here, for lack of better terminology, to let you know what exactly is available, and we'll show you some pictures of the back as well. So what interfaces can you use? Well, you can use RJ45, which is another way of saying Ethernet, SFP, SFP+, SFP28, SFP56, QSFP28, or QSFP56. So yeah, there's a number of different interfaces that you can use. What speeds are supported? Well, you can do 1 gigabit, 10, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400. Wow, yeah, you can go all the way up to 400 gigabit. All right, let's talk power supplies. There's going to be 2 hot swap redundant power supplies in the back. You can use 1200 watt platinum, or you can use 1600 watt titanium/platinum. So there's a couple different options on the power supplies. 1200 watt is the main one that we seem to be building with, but again, there's a couple different options. All right, that brings us to supported operating systems. You're going to have Windows Server 2019 or 2022. You're going to have VMware ESXi 8.0. I know VMware, everyone's pissed off at them, and I don't blame them. And you're going to have a number of different other solutions. There's Red Hat, there's Ubuntu. There's some great solutions as a whole for the different supported operating systems. Hey, if you made it this far, click that like and smash that subscribe. And if you're looking for any custom-built AMD Genoa servers, whether that's ASUS, if you're looking for Gigabyte, Supermicro, HPE, Dell, we'd love the opportunity to quote your data center. Please email us at sales@cloudninja.com. That's sales@cloudninja.com. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Take care.